Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. How are we all doing? Today I've got the weekly watches for you. I watched nine, I think. Let me just have a count up. Nearly dropping them all over the floor. One, two, three. Yeah, got enough fingers to cope with that. 9 titles to talk about on the channel this morning that I've watched this week. Range of stuff, range of different genres. All pretty good, I think. No turkeys this week, which may upset you because I think some of you like it when I go off about a title, but it's not happening this week. So let's roll the credits and let's get on with it. Right then, we kicked off the week with Fisherman's Friends 2. One and all, I couldn't remember what the rest of it was called. Fame is never plain sailing is the tagline, which is a good old witty play on words then for the fisherman. And yeah, this is from 2022, directed by Meg Leonard and Nick Moorcroft, so a joint effort. It stars James Purfoy as Jim, returning back as this guy here, the lead character, the lead singer of the band. Dave Jolene as Leadville, his father, who died in the last one, but he comes back as not really a ghost, but in Jim's memory, and is discussing his troubles and his woes with him. Maggie Steed as his mother. And yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's not as good as the first film, in my opinion, but it's still watchable. It suffers, I think, from the lack of the two main characters not coming back from the last film, who were played by Daniel Mays and Tuppence Middleton. Now, they were mentioned in the film. Their excuse for not being there was that they had got married and were away on honeymoon. And the film must have, I don't know, covered several weeks, like, as a timeline, and they'd still not returned by the end. So it must have been one hell of a honeymoon. Daniel would have been worn out by the time I think he got back. But yeah, this is a look at the band have made it to the big time, and it's causing some stress on the main character, Jim, who is missing his father, who's never got over the death with his father, struggling with a bit of a lack of privacy now that they're famous. Everywhere they go, people want pictures and stuff like that, which is not Jim's style. He's a simple folk. He likes to get on with his fishing. They take on another member of the group to replace his father who died, and then they clash. So yeah, it's a look at dealing with fame and how situations change. It's all right, like I say. Hasn't quite got the charm of the first one, but it's perfectly watchable. When you breathtaking scenery. I've never been to Cornwall in my life. I've been to Devon a few times. So one day I must rectify that. Yeah, Fisherman's Friends 2, one and all. Next up, from 1971, directed by Richard Fleischer, starring Mia Farrow, Dorothy Allison, Robin Bailey, Paul Nicholas, who was in sort of a lot of 80s and 90s sitcoms. Just Good Friends springs to mind from my teenage years. Mike Alphick, who for me was in Boone, but is in all sorts of British films. He turns up in a lot of stuff. Yeah, See No Evil. Again, not brilliant at all, but a decent watch. This is about Farrah's character, and she's had a riding accident that has left her blind, and she's coming to terms with her disability and goes to stay at her auntie and uncle's and her cousin's house in the country, a big country house it is, and they've got staff, they've got a gardener and stuff like that. So she is going there to recuperate, and you can see her trying to find a way through this house that she knew so well as a sighted person, then trying to adapt to it as a blind person. And she did it really, she plays it really well. She's quite convincing, actually. You would think she was actually blind. But anyway, things take a turn. Actually, it'd be a pretty boring film if that was all it was about. Things take a turn when, whilst she's out seeing the man who, well, her boyfriend really, before her accident and getting reacquainted with him, while she's out with him, a maniac breaks into the house and kills the aunt, uncle, and the cousin, and then she comes back, and that's quite some good scenes when she comes back from the house, because there's bodies all over the house, and she doesn't realise, obviously, because she's blind, and there's breaking glass on the kitchen floor, which she's walking around in barefoot, just missing, and doesn't know it's there, obviously, again, because she's blind. The body of the uncle's in the bath, and she runs a bath not knowing the body's in there, and you think she's going to get in the bath, but then somebody comes to the door or telephones or something, so she never quite gets to have that bath. Yeah, it's quite gripping like that, and thinking, well, she's got to discover these bodies soon. But anyway, the killer then discovers that she's back at the house, and he's left a necklace there, an identity necklace. Oh no, bracelet, sorry, an identity bracelet with his name on. And she's discovered it and maybe aware that he's the killer. So it's about him then trying to see Mia Farrow off. Yeah, good gripping action crime thriller that I thoroughly enjoyed, and definitely one to stay in the collection. Like I say, not brilliant, not top tier, but perfectly functional film. Yeah, quite enjoyed that one actually. See No Evil, Mia Farrow. She's really good in it. It's worth watching it just for her. Right, a slight intermission, guys. I've been invaded, shall we say? You all right? I'll be right back. Yeah, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Oh God, we've got a video to do, haven't we? That's it. Off. Right, guys. Yes. Next up. After that intermission, Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994, directed and starring Kenneth Branagh. Now, what a cast this has got. This has got a good cast. Branagh himself, Robert De Niro, Helena Bonham Carter, Ian Holm, Richard Bryars, another like 70s sitcom star, Ever Decreasing Circles, The Good Life, John Cleese, Robert Hardy, Celia Imrie, Hugh Bonneville. Yeah, really stacked cast in this one. And first time watch for me, and I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great. I wasn't expecting that much from it, but no, really liked it. I thought Branagh, who is sort of like a classical actor, isn't he? Very well versed actor. I thought he was brilliant as Baron Frankenstein, and yeah, really did a good job. And De Niro, I was a bit dubious about him being Frankenstein. I just thought he'd make a weird Frankenstein, but no, he carried it off. I should never probably doubt Robert De Niro. Good story. You all know the Frankenstein story. It looked beautiful. Tell you, this 4K, well worth it in the Arrow sale at the minute. I think it's probably 15 quid. If you haven't got it and you're interested in picking it up now, because it looks absolutely fabulous. There was one scene where Helena Bonham Carter, she goes to the castle where Frankenstein is doing his experiment to try and talk him out of it, trying to get him back to where he belongs. And this little town where she's in, it's plagued by cholera, and she's walking down this grey street, like this medieval street, and she's got this red dress on, and the red dress is vivid against all the greyness and just looked fantastic. Yeah, it reminded me a bit of that scene in Schindler's List, where the girl with just the red coat's walking along. That's what it reminded me of. Yeah, really good looking 4K, a really good looking story, and definitely one to keep in the collection, and I'll be watching again. Yeah, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, that one, guys. Next up was The Defiant Ones from 1958, directed by Stanley Kramer, who, in my opinion, could be one of the most underrated directors ever. Because, my God, what a filmography this guy has. Like this one, Judgment at Nuremberg, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. I think that was the right amount of mads. Inherit the Wind, On the Beach, Ship of Fools, just quality film after quality film, and you never really heard anybody talking about him. And this is a rewatch, and another great film. Really enjoyed this, watching it again. Starring Tony Curtis, Sidney Poitier as two convicts, and their vehicle that's transporting them to prison crashes and leaves them escaping. I was going to say it's only two survivors, but no, they've been taken the lie. The others didn't die. They were recaptured and taken to hospital. But these two guys escape, and they're chained together, and all manner of adversaries ensue. Tony Curtis, he's this racist guy, and Sidney Poitier, he's like really angry black man, and it's them, they've got to come to terms and get comfortable with each other, else they're just going to get recaptured. Curtis wants to go to the south, where Poitier knows as a black man there's no way things are going to work out for him there, and so he wants to go north, so they're arguing straight away which direction they're going to take. And just a great film. A simple premise, a simple story, one that you don't have to think about too much, but it's so entertaining and so gripping. There's a scene where they get to this woman's house, and Curtis falls in love with a woman and decides that he's going to go and run off with her and make a new life. Yeah, really interesting stuff. If you're a fan of Kramer, and I know there is a lot of Kramer fans, and you haven't seen that one, give that a watch, because, yeah, really, really good film. The Defiant Ones. Next up was Escape from New York from 1981, directed by John Carpenter, with, again, a stacked cast. Kurt Russell as the iconic Snake Plissken, Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Harry Dean Stanton, Adrian Barbeau, the lovely Adrian Barbeau, Tom Atkins. Yeah, what a great cast. And while I enjoy this film, it's a decent film. As Carpenter's films go for me, I'd say if I was to rank them, it'd be lower to mid. Yeah, I don't think it's one of his best ones, but still enjoyable. This is about set in the future, and crime in New York, well, America itself has absolutely rocketed, and Manhattan Island has been turned into a prison. The idea is they've built great big huge walls around it. There's no prison staff or anything in there. If you've done wrong, get condemned, you get taken in there and basically just left in there till you die. And it's all kinds of manic things going on there. As you can imagine, if you just leave all the criminals together without any sort of supervision. One day, the president's plane, Aircraft One, crash lands in the area, and Donald Pleasance is the president of the United States, which would have worked for me. he's stranded in there and taken capture, and unless the prisoners are allowed to go free, they're going to kill the president. So Lee Van Cleef, who is kind of like the prison governor stroke head of police type figure, he enrolls Pliskin, who, played by Kurt Russell obviously, who is about to go into the prison as a convict, and gives him the ultimatum that if he goes in there and rescues the president within 24 hours, or it's got these chips in his neck that will explode and sever his arteries and blood everywhere, and not a pretty sight, I should think. So if he gets him back within 24 hours, he'll be pardoned of all crimes. That's the basic premise, and that's pretty much the film to boot. Yeah, it's decent, like I say. Well, worth a watch. Yeah, it's okay. Like I say, not a good best Carpenter, but a decent one. Escape from New York. Never seen Escape from LA, actually, but I hear that's worse than this and not so good. So let me know down below, is that something I should watch, Escape from LA? Because I know I've got a copy of my local CX, so if some of you think I should watch it, maybe I'll go and pick it up. Next up, from 1994, directed by Michel Suave, De la Morte de l'Amour, or The Cemetery Man, starring Rupert Everett, Francois Haji Lazard, and Anna Fauci. And you know what? I really enjoyed this. I was expecting nothing from it at all. I was expecting not to like it, but I got on really well with it. I had a whale of a time. This is about Rupert Everett's character, and he's really good in this. He's really plays a suave, sort of understated role, and in this small town, he's sort of in charge of the cemetery, makes sure it's run all right, does the grave digging and that sort of stuff. He's aided by this sort of mute character played by Francois Haji Lazard as his assistant, who never says anything, but they've got this kind of friendship going on. And there's a problem in this graveyard where some of the bodies are coming back to life as zombies after 7 days of being dead. But instead of going to the authorities and report it, Rupert Everett's afraid to lose his job. So he tries to take matters into his own hand and contain the situation himself by shooting them and destroying the brains, and the usual zombie good stuff, which was quite a different premise for a zombie film, but quite entertaining. Then Anna Fauci, she turns up, whose husband has just died, so she turns up as a grieving widow, and she reminded me sort of like one of these buxom women from the Hammer horror films, but wearing much more less, getting up to much dirtier deeds. She was a stunning lady, very buxom. She certainly wouldn't break her nose if she fell on her front, put it that way. And her husband dies, and Everett gets besotted with her as she comes along, grieves over her, and starts to have a fling with her, and they're having sex on the husband's grave because, as she explains it, they did everything together and she wouldn't want to keep a secret even after his death. So they're doing the dirty deed on the grave where he comes through the earth as a zombie to interrupt the deed. Yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually entertaining. And in another incident, quite a few of the town are killed where some youths on motorbikes collide with a school, it's a scout bus, and it's absolute carnage and kills everybody. So he's quite busy in the graveyard, and he's quite busy with the people coming back to life. Yeah, he's got a lot of work on his hands, and then things change where not necessarily after 7 days they're coming back. It could be earlier, it could be later. So he doesn't know his arse from his elbow in respect of which ones are safe and which ones aren't. Yeah, really good film, really enjoyable. Uh, dark humour kept me smiling and giggling in places. Yeah, fantastic stuff. And it's the first title I've got in this like shameless series with these bright yellow cases. So I'm quite now intrigued as to whether I should start exploring a bit more of the. I know it could be like, as Marcus would say, a rabbit hole for me to fall down. But again, let me know what other titles I should be collecting in this shameless series. I know Tim might have some ideas, and maybe Marcus, if they ever get internet up there in the northeast, and he can start watching some more videos. Yeah, Delamore, the Cemetery Man, good stuff. And next, after that, completely different direction, from 2011, directed by Mateo Gil, or I think he might be Spanish, so I might doubt that as a H. So I'm going to guess Mateo Gil. Mateo Gil. That hurts the throat. Yeah, starring Sam Shepard, Eduardo Noriega, Stephen Ray, Nicholas Coster-Waldau, who you might remember from Game of Thrones as the incestuous Lannister Jaime, I think, off the top of my head. Yeah, Blackthorn, a modern-day Western, and you know what, another good watch, another one I enjoyed. This is sort of rewriting the Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid story, because Sam Shepard plays Butch Cassidy, but if you remember the end of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and spoilers here if you haven't seen it, they die in a hail of gunfire in Mexico, and this is sort of rewriting an alternative ending where they survive that hail of gunfire. Well, for any case, Butch Cassidy does, and he goes and stays in South America and takes a new identity as James Blackthorn, and is leading out a quiet life then in South America. But he's always had this thing where he's got this, is it his kid or is it not? Because in their younger days, him and the Sundance Kid, they sort of shared this woman, and she had a baby, and they're never sure which one was the father. And this, she went back to America to have the kid, so Butch has never seen his son stroke nephew. I think like when he writes to him, he always makes out that his nephew, because I don't think the son's probably too aware that his mum was getting too tied by the Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And later in his life, he's then got a yearning to go back to the States to meet the son stroke nephew, and sets out on a journey to get back to the States and visit him and go and live with him and start again another new life. He then gets involved with Eduardo Noriega's character, who tries to rob him, and his horse runs off in the meantime, taking all his worldly possessions, his money and everything. And he then forms this relationship with Noriega, who you don't know whether he's a good character, you don't know whether he's a bad character. He's done something in his past, you don't know whether it's for the good or for the bad. And he forms this sort of love-hate allegiance with him to get back his money that he's lost, while being pursued by Mexican bandits and this lawman played by Stephen Ray that was trying to capture him back in the Cassidy and Sundance days, but never managed it, but managed now to get back on his trail. Yeah, really, really good modern day Western. Not doing anything particularly new, but doing stuff well. Again, one that you don't have to think about too hard, just let it wash over you. Just enjoy the film. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I recommend that one. Blackthorn. I tell you what, it's been a good week. It's been a good week of watching. And with this one, it's not just kept on a level. It's climbed. What a great film this is. I love this one. A rewatch from me from 1988, Cine de Paradiso. Directed by Giuseppe Tonatore, starring the brilliant Philippe Noiret, Jacques Perrin, Marco Leonardi, Salvatore Cascio, and this is the second time I've watched this film, and with not going overboard, I think this is in my top 10 films of all time now. What a wonderful film this is. Absolutely loved it. It's said a few times before, a love letter to cinema, and this is exactly what this is. If you love cinema, it's a must watch. You've got to watch this film. This is all about this guy, Toto, the character, who's played by 3 different actors in this film as he grows from young child to adolescent into middle-aged man. And as a child, he's always obsessed with this cinema house, and in particularly the projectionist played by Noiret, who at first he annoys by always hanging around the picture house and while he's trying to work, but then he takes him under his wing and becomes sort of like a father figure to him, because his own father never returned from the war, and that's him there as a young guy, and he starts to show him the ropes of being a projectionist, and it's absolutely fantastic, the relationship these 2 guys, like man to boy, through the years they just become so close and so bonded. And in this beautiful picture house, this cinema that is the focal point of this little town in Sicily, where it's pretty much the hub of the town. Everybody goes to the cinema in these days. I think it's like starts off after the war, like late 40s, so there's nothing else really to do in this town, so everybody goes to this cinema. You see relationships formed in the cinema, you see people dying in the cinema, you see all walks of life in the cinema, and you just get to know the different characters of this town just through their interactions and going to the cinema. And just stuff like the local priest, before they allow any films to be shown in the cinema, he'll go through it, and then if he wants something cut out of it, he goes like that. He rings a bell and tells him to cut that bit out. So every time there's a kiss in a film, he makes sure it's taken out. The people who live in this town, they've never seen a kiss in the film because the local priest has got it removed. So yeah, you really see this relationship bonding through these 2 people. And then as a young adult, he goes off, this guy, to become a filmmaker himself, and falls apart. And the ending in this, it's so, you've got to watch it to see it. It certainly brings a lump to the throat. I implore you, if you haven't watched this film, grab a copy, watch it, get it now while it's in it. Get this Arrow 4K in the sale now, £15, because it's absolutely bargain. Easily now in my top 10 films of all time. It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. I can't state how much I'm thinking of this film now. The first time I watched it was on one of them free DVDs from a newspaper, and I remember really liking it, so I got this 4K, and it's just taken it to another level. It's wonderful. I just implore everybody, if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. This is cinema, this is film, this is art, this is England. Where have I come from with that? It's not England, it's Italy. Yeah, brilliant stuff, Cinema Paradiso. Next up, from 1978, the first great train robbery. From 1978, directed by Michael Crichton of Jurassic Park writing fame. Again, stacked cast: Sean Connery, Donald Sutherland, the beautiful Leslie Ann Down. Gosh, she's beautiful in here. Wayne Sleep, the dancer, remember him? Michael Alphick again making a reappearance of the week. Janine Duvitsky from another sitcom star, One Foot in the Grave she was in, Benny Dorm, and never seen her quite young. She's always like struck me as a funny looking woman, but she's young in this and playing a prostitute, and she's actually quite a nice looking woman when she was young. Andre Morel, Brian Glover, Peter Butterworth from the Carry On films. Yes, stacked cast. And this is one of Stuart George's favourite films. And he's been on at me for a while to get a copy, and he's pretty much bullied me into it, twisted my arm behind my back, and gave me a Chinese burn until I submitted and bought a DVD copy. And yeah, thanks, Stuart. Thanks for getting on at me, because I really did enjoy it. It's these trio of criminals, Connery, Sutherland, and Leslie Ann Down, plotting to be the first people to do this robbery from a moving train, never been done before, deemed impossible. And the chemistry between the three, particularly Connery and Sutherland, is just out of this world. They're absolutely brilliant together. They're two of my favourite, well, I think probably two of most people's favourite actors anyway, and it just enhanced their reputation even further for me. The planning of the robbery, how these safes that this gold was in on these trains that they needed to rob, they needed 4 keys, and the 4 keys are in 4 different places, so they have to come up with different ruses to get all these 4 keys. Just brilliant stuff. And the robbery itself, and trying to get away after the robbery. Great. Sunday afternoon would be the perfect time to watch this. I watched it on an evening, but a perfect Sunday afternoon film. You've had your Sunday dinner, you've got yourself a tin of Heineken, sit down, watch the first great train robbery. You won't be disappointed. Yeah, thanks again, Stuart, for pointing this out to me. And I'm an idiot that it's the best part of 50 years old and I've never seen it. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the week, guys. Probably the most quality week I've had for a long time. I've not had to moan about anything. I do enjoy having a moan. I'm a bloody Victor Meldrew, me. I do enjoy having a moan, but I do enjoy being happy as well. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. I love you watching. I love your comments. Just love it. Loving live. Take it easy. See you later. Ta-ra.